So good morning. Hello. My name is Alicia Souza, and I'm an illustrator. And that is, I draw stuff, and I draw for a living. And on stuff, so everything from products to from t-shirts, and that's clothing, to walls, to small stuff like gifting items as well, and apparently on dogs. I'm also an entrepreneur. I have my own little company, and we deal with products as well. And of course, like you mentioned, I'm a big coffee addict and a very proudly proclaimed dog mummy. So just a little bit about my history. I was born and brought up in the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi to be precise, and I'm what they call a thoroughbred Gulfi. So I'm sure everyone knows one or two of us. And so whenever we used to come on vacation to India, I used to swoon over the cows, which is something I kind of still do. I used to giggle in the auto rides, which is something I absolutely don't do. And also, I think it's by default. I don't know if it is by default, but I used to be absolutely atrocious in Hindi, and I studied in a CBSE school. So every question had this written as my answer, and I don't even know if this makes sense. So, yeah, I don't know. So I was actually, believe it or not, a really good student. So, and except for Hindi, and that really used to bug me. So 7th grade was my last Hindi exam paper, and I made a promise to myself then. I was like, you know what, when I finish school, I'm going to really ask myself, every time I make a big decision and anything, I was going to ask myself, will this make me happy? Of course, I had a lot of time to think about it because it took me 15 minutes to finish my 2-hour Hindi paper. It was horrible. So I know this is a really simple question, and it sounds like it's very from the heart, but it's absolutely not, because when you do things that absolutely make you happy, you firstly do justice to the things that make you happy, you do a much better job, and you don't cringe every time you wake up in the morning. It's also the difference between me working as a freelancer versus working in a fancy design studio and having a small design company versus taking funding and growing into something massive. And also on day-to-day basis on what I want to do and what projects I want to take up. So there are a lot of things that happened and got me to where I was, but I realized it's not only that question that got me here, but also I seem to have gotten myself into sort of a loop. And that is, when I do things that make people happy, I realize people react really happily and respond positively, and in turn makes me happy as well. So the thing is that when you design experiences, you have to start thinking differently, and when you think differently, it makes them memorable. And that's with happiness as well. So I'm just going to give you an example. I'm sorry, wait, when I talk about designing experiences, I don't really mean as an illustrative designer, but I mean as anything that you do. So that's if you're doing a sales pitch, or you're writing a blog, or you're writing a screenplay for that matter, whatever it may be. So I just came across this product recently, and it's just a great example to talk about how they thought differently about it. So we've all seen security cameras and surveillance cameras. They're usually like regular like boxy things, and nothing out of the ordinary. So I came across this one security camera, which is unbelievably adorable and so well designed. It was called the Ulo, I'm not sure, but it's designed by this product designer called Vivian Mueller. I'm just going to play the video for you because there's nothing that can describe how adorable this thing is. How do I start it? Can you just play? Okay. Yeah, so that was, it's so cute. Jesus, I wish I did it. But so the thing with this thing, with this product itself, is not that it's only superbly cute and really fun design, but it's also superbly functional. It does its job that it needs to do. So I bumped into it when it was a project on Kickstarter, and it raised $500,000, which is not surprising at all. But the thing about it is also that it creates a bond with the user. So how you interact with this product, like you double tap its head when it's when you want it to go on alert mode, and if you see how its eyes are, they kind of create almost an emotion, and so that creates a bond with the user, and to the point where people call it a pet, their pet. And so for the price point that that it's actually going for, there are like heaps of cameras that are actually even more technologically advanced. But because of the interaction and because of the bond it creates, it definitely stands apart in the market by miles. So another example that I came across, I mean I knew this for a while, but Jake Kress created this chair called, he's a furniture designer, it's called Oops. And it's one of his most popular chairs. You can tell with the leg reaching out for its little lost ball. And when I was looking for this picture to show you, I came across this one, which is a lamp. And not because it's a dog, I don't think it's amazing because it's a dog, but also because how you interact with it is the poop is actually the light switch. So you kind of have to touch it. I thought that was fantastic. So the artist's name also is really quirky. It's like, what's his name is his name. And it's called Good Boy, which is preceded by Good Puppy. And that also is fantastic. And because I'm a dog mummy, I'm just saying, from experience, this dog to poop ratio is not accurate at all. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to read this out, just a bit of it. So I'm just saying, dear internet, my mom is tired of your shit. She can't understand your website and it isn't her fault. It's time we talked. I'm going to read the end as well. My mom tutors high school students and likes quilting and hiking. She yells at her computer, doesn't know what a Twitter is, and struggles to find windows she's minimized. You should design with your mother in mind. If she can't understand your site, others will struggle as well. So this is actually a website where you can submit your website, and this lovely lady's son is, I think, a UX designer. And you can submit it, and she will test it out for you. And it's basically a mini business, actually. But it's just adorable. But what I think is brilliant is that they have acknowledged that there are various ways that someone interacts with an experience. So you do have your target audience in mind, usually, so when you have a brief. But I think it's really good to really think of how someone else who's not in that target audience will experience it as well. It's just really good practice. And for example, if a teenage model works in a, lingerie store, a Victoria's Secret lingerie store, I think her experience will be completely different from someone, say, like a lovely old grandma who doesn't comprehend how half the things work. So, I think obviously the stores know this, but just acknowledging that someone else is going to have a completely different experience is really, really good practice in whatever you end up doing, because you really never know who your target audience really is. All right. So have you heard of Microcopy? So Microcopy is basically it's been around, just the word itself is something I bumped into recently, but it's been around forever. And it's like the little itty-bitty text that comes, it's usually funny or it's superbly useful, that comes with an interaction, usually online. And if it's really useful, it can make or break a user experience. And an example of it is like when you're starting a Tumblr account, and Tumblr being a blog, that little text saying you can change this and that's your name at any time is the difference between someone spending 5 minutes on the website, on this page, versus 15 minutes, saying, because if you can't change it and you didn't know you could change it, you'll spend all your time trying to figure it out and what's the best name you can pick. Other things, sorry, this is a really bad image, but your password can be cracked in 12 hours, and ways you can actually improve as well, and like little places we can go for that. So entering your billing address associated with a credit card is just super helpful. And I think with Microcopy, the beauty of it is that we are acknowledging that there are people behind the screen as well. And I think as we use the internet a lot more, there's a lot more information as well. And we're acknowledging that there are a lot more users with a lot more interaction. So one of the spaces, of course, with the 404 error pages, which is basically acknowledging that someone, when they're lost as well, that the company recognizes it. And it's like a design playground it's a playground for designers, really, when you're designing. So there are many funny ones as well, but one of the best ones is, I think, by Zappos, which is like which has the mecca of customer service. And besides the adorable dog, they have many ways you can go through it. So if you're, they tell you what might have happened. There's a search bar where you can go to after that. There's even, if you want to just call an email the customer service, it's absolutely available for you. So there's no direction you can go wrong with that. I opened an online store rather recently, and you try to use this acknowledging everywhere. And so there's a lot of things you have to acknowledge, like how painful it is to work with logistic companies. And I think all of you all probably had some experience with a courier guy coming when you're on the toilet. For some reason, they have like the sixth sense of always missing everyone's timings. So when we had to talk about how our store works, I thought the only logical way to do it is to, well, not be logical. And so apparently the store at this point runs by worker bears, birds who do math, and cranes, and bunnies, and stuff like that. And I can't give a reason as to why a courier guy is late, because they have like just n number of reasons. So we just say that our crane deliveries, they need toilet breaks. Okay, so as I do more and more work, because I work as a freelancer as well, I realized a lot of briefs, and I guess you all would have seen it as well, they want more engagement. So it's engagement with their fans, they want engagement with their customers, whatever it may be. So I get to do a lot of products which have engagement as well. And so there is, I'm just going to tell you about a few products that I worked with, where I tried to get a lot of interaction between the final user. So one of them was, I think don't start it just yet. In 2013, I had to do a calendar. And so I think I lived as a student for so long because I thought of it when I was in the shower, and it was like running hot water, and I didn't have that for so long. And I was so grateful for it. And I said, okay, you know, there are lots of things that we think of on a daily basis. I mean, we have on a daily basis that we completely forget that we can be absolutely grateful for. And for me, that was like the hot shower and like the bum gun. And I realized we can do 365 things, or have 365 little bits that we can be grateful for. And this is not like parents and friends, which is like, you know, we acknowledge pretty often, but small little things. And I'll just show you, and oh, sorry, so we did 365 drawings, and you basically color it in every day. And that's a small little thing you can be grateful for. And I'll just get you to play. It's a tiny video. Okay, that's it. All right, so I ended up getting so many, and because it was interactive, I actually content sourced it. So I put the thing up online saying, what have you been grateful for? What are you grateful for? And I got so many responses. And I just had to pick 365 of them. And on 27th December, that was my grateful. I was just grateful that Richard Gere exists in the world, because he's so adorable. So the next year, I wanted to do a calendar that was kind of on friendship. And I think DC Comics and Marvel will kind of go bonkers when they see, because it was basically based on superheroes and supervillains being best friends or being in love. And just to make, obviously, things a little harder for me, I made them alphabetical. So it was like, A was Abomination and Astro Boy being best friends, and Bane and Batgirl being absolutely in love. And we went through the whole alphabet. And like, because I don't know like all the superheroes, I had to like, again, ask people for that as well. So this year, there was a lot of people really wanted to color in again. I think it's also becoming in vogue. And this is going to make me sound old, but as I grew older, I realized there are a lot of things I think we have as baggage, and a lot of things that you need to kind of let go. And I realized that the way to let go of most of the mental things that we have, mental blocks, is that you kind of have to acknowledge them, mentally process them, and then like mentally let go of them as well. And coloring is such a meditative process, and it's becoming more popular, like I mentioned. So what I did was color in and let go. So small things like anger and fear of being different and idea of a perfect life. These were strewn throughout the entire calendar. And so I couldn't do 365 of them because I think it takes a little longer to let go of something. So it did really well. So people are really happy with coloring in and basically letting go of these things that they might have had in the past. So another one. This is one of the biggest interactive series I did. So I'll tell you a little story about this as well. So it started off because I was sitting with a friend, and we were eating a sandwich, and she was cutting off. I mean, a lot of people do this, right? Like they remove the edges of the bread, the crust. And I just can't comprehend why people do that. And like, so I've got many reasons. So I always ask. I'm like, the usual ones being it's like super dry and like, it's like hard. The funniest one being is that someone thought it was the fattiest part of the bread, so they left it out. So I always ask because I'm trying to find one that tops it. And this was it. So the girl was like, my friend, she had super straight hair. And she was like, if I eat the crust of the bread, my hair will get curly. And I was like, no, I think your mom and your grandmom have really straight hair. I don't think it works. I think it's genetics. And she was like, no, it's not genetics in this case. It's because they also don't eat crusts of bread. And I was baffled. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I can come up with a. I thought it was funny. I was going to just draw it. But then I'm like, okay, it's such a good old wives' tale. I'll probably throw in a few more that I've heard of, which was like silly ones, like if a black cat crosses the road, and like don't walk under a ladder. And I think my dad told me once that we shouldn't whistle at night because a snake will come. But being brought up in Abu Dhabi, I didn't see a snake till I was 20, so it was so vague. So I put this out there, and I got hundreds and hundreds of old wives' tales that I got to illustrate. Some of them are so funny, like eating fused bananas will give you twins. And this one was not even sent as it was sent as a warning, like don't touch your earring, like it will really fall off. And this is my favorite, picking your nose will make it bigger. So, and then a lot of them had to do with pregnancy. So because we can't tell whether it's a boy or a girl, a lot of old wives' tales have sprung up about if you know it's a boy or a girl. So I made this little booklet, and it was you had to tick whether it's which ones apply to you, and which ones you get most, you'll know whether it's a boy or a girl. But they're so strange. Like, are the leg hairs growing at record speed? And do you eat only the middle of bread, or are your legs staying in shape? Then you'll get a girl. So I also did this because I was becoming an auntie for the first time. And oddly enough, well, my chances are 1 to 2, but it worked. Like I ended up getting a nephew. And yeah, we gave it out free with like one of our pregnant products. Anyway, so what I realized is when you do these things that make people happy, they usually come back. It comes back to you, and people respond happily, whether it's by recommendation, or they come, they return, they rate, or they buy, whatever it is. And I realized that ultimately goes back into making you just a happier person. And so I changed what I thought of as a kid, and I realized that I want to ask myself, will this make me happy? But will it make me and the person I'm interacting with happy as well? Because it inevitably goes back to the same thing. And that's about it. Thank you so much.